What the hell is going on? Who is this woman? Why hasn't this been mentioned? Why does it feel like this profile was being very hidden? And again, as Donald was jumping in to his family background and speaking about how Jamaican it was, why didn't he mention this? Why didn't he mention this woman, his white relatives? It might be relevant when we're having a discussion about Kamala's race to mention the fact that your dad married a white woman. I'm just saying. Here's another picture of her. And there's something familiar about her smile. There's something familiar. I'm looking at this woman, I'm going, this woman looks to me like Kamala Harris. Now, something even weirder, the person who did create something for her online, okay, who created a profile for her on Ancestry.com, look what he put in the middle of her name. He lists her name as Vioris Anita Iris Cambridge. Fascinating.
Hello, friend, and welcome to The Conservative Poet. My name is Amania. Here on the channel, I do political reactions, commentary. I throw some humor, some parody in there to drive home the crazies that we're seeing in the society. If this is something that is interesting to you, then you've come to the right place. All I ask is that you interact with the video. It let YouTube know that we want this content. So like, share, comment. That really helps me out with the algorithm. So without further ado, we're going to get into this video right now. So what we're looking at here, friends, is this letter that Kamala Harris's father wrote a couple of years ago. I think it was 2019. So 2019, 2020. He wrote this after Kamala Harris had published her book. And so we're going to go through this because this is the document that Candace Owens had been referring about, that she did not understand. How is it that he did not speak about his mother? All he did was talk about her for, I mean, literally. We're going to go through this and you're going to see. And so it's very strange that he talks about so many other people, but he doesn't talk about the mother at all, which makes us think, well, maybe mom wasn't around, right? Maybe he didn't grow up with mom. Maybe she wasn't there. Um Maybe she passed away. Who knows? But this is the letter where he talks about these things, but I mean, he goes into great detail about some other things, but is so very vague about mama. So I wanted to make a very special video just about this letter, or whatever it's called, that he wrote. And I found this on Facebook, believe it or not. So we're going to read this thing. So, Reflections of a Jamaican Father by Donald J. Harris. Now, I'm not triggered, but I feel just from the title of this, again, we're talking about them blackwashing Kamala Harris. Obviously, when you think of Jamaicans, you think black people. So this could have been reflections of a father. This could have been reflections of a black father, reflections of an Irish father, reflections of a dad. But it's reflections of a Jamaican man, a Jamaican dad. So, anyway, let's do that. Reflections of a Jamaican Father by Donald J. Harris. Now, before we move on, I want to make it clear that I will probably stumble through this reading. I may stumble through it, so please bear with me. Again, I went through the public schools and I've only got an associate degree in higher education. So please bear in mind these faults that I have. So I may have to repronounce some things. Just saying. Okay. As a child growing up in Jamaica, I often heard it said by my parents and family friends. And I will stop in between whenever a thought comes to mind that I want to hold on to. So I've often heard it said by my parents and family friends. So right there, I'm like, my parents. So your mom, your dad, who exactly are we talking about? Because again, he doesn't talk about his mother at all. But here he says his parents. So, and it's remember where you come from. That's what that's saying. Remember where you come from. To this day, I continue to retain the deep social awareness and strong sense of identity which that grassroots Jamaican philosophy fed in me. So his strong roots and philosophy, deep roots and philosophy, right? Okay. As a father, I naturally sought to develop the same sensibility in my two daughters. Okay. Born and bred in America, Kamala was the first in line to have it planted. Maya came 2 years later and had the same advantage the advantage of an older sibling as a mentor. It is for them to say truly now, not me, what, if anything, of value they carried from that early experience into adulthood. But I believe that Kamala Harris mostly she was really with her Indian family, right? But we're going to move on. My one regret is that they did not come to know very well the most influential women in my life, Miss Chrissy and Miss Iris, as everybody called them. So they call them that, but why are you calling them that if that's your grandmothers, right? These were his grandmothers, Miss Chrissy and Miss Iris. Okay. This is in many ways a story about these women and the heritage they gave us. Okay, so this is where he's the important women in his life is Miss Chrissy and Miss Iris, right? A story about these women and their heritage and the heritage that they gave to us. Okay. My roots go back within my lifetime, My roots go back within my lifetime to my parental grandmother, Miss Chrissy, nee Christina Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, who is on record as plantation and slave owner and founder of Brownstown. And to my maternal grandmother, Miss Iris, nee Iris Finnegan. Nee Iris Finnegan, farmer and educator from Annantown and Iverness. Ancestry unknown. Well, right there, friend, we're going to call you a liar because her ancestry is known. Her ancestry is known. She was a white woman. She was Irish. She was a white Irish woman. And right this moment, I need to pull her Irishness in. So we're going to have to stick this there. Let me do this so I remember. Okay. All right. He says, her ancestry is unknown to me. Again, this was written in 2020, right? Where they're trying to blackwash. So her ancestry is unknown, but her ancestry is known because she's a white woman. You knew that. She looked different from you, didn't she? Because you a black man, right? I'm just saying. Okay, let's continue. To my maternal grandmother, Miss Iris, nee Iris Finnegan, farmer and educator from Antonton. Okay, ancestry unknown to me. The Harris name comes from my paternal grandfather, Joseph Alexander Harris, landowner and what is that? Agricultural produce. I guess he produced agriculture. Exporter, mostly palmetto and allspice. Who died in 1939. His grandfather died in 1939, 1 year after I was born, and is buried in the churchyard of the magnificent Anglican church which Hamilton Brown built in Brownstown. Okay. So, and whereas a child I learned catechism, was baptized and conformed and served as an acolyte. I don't know what that is. I guess that's an altar boy. That's what I'm gonna guess. So curious here. So his grandpapa was buried in this here church in Hamilton Brown. And I pulled up a picture of what that looked like because I did go to look for that. So we'll stick that picture here. This is what it looked like. So I'm kind of curious if it's still there today. If it's still, the cemetery is still there. And so therefore there should be records of his records of him being there in the burial. 1939, not that long ago. This place is still standing, which means he should still be there, right? Okay. And this is what he learned these things. So this was a very precious church to these people because he did his learnings there. He learned about being a Catholic. He learned about these things there. So there should be records, right? Man, I tell you, if I could, I'd fly out to Jamaica to find out. Okay. Both of my grandmothers had the strongest influence on my early upbringing, not to exclude, of course, the influence of my dear mother, Miss Beryl, and my loving father, Mass Oscar. Massa? Massa Oscar? Massa Oscar? I think that's what it seems. Massa Oscar. Miss Beryl and Massa Oscar. How do you talk to about your mother? And again, friends, this right here is all that he says about his mother, Beryl. Not to exclude, of course, the influence of my dear mother, Miss Beryl, and my loving father, Massa Oscar. Right? This is all that he says in this 7-page writing about him and their family. This is all he says about Miss Beryl, his mother. Very odd. As we continue down this document, you're going to see how detailed he goes into other things that you'd be like, this is nonsense. But he goes into grave detail. But here, all he says about his mother is this line, not to exclude, of course, the influence of my dear mother, Miss Beryl, and my loving father, Massa Oscar. Okay? So we're going to continue. Miss Chrissy was the disciplinarian, reserved and stern in the look, firm with the strap. Oh boy, he got his butt beat. But capable of the most endearing and genuine acts of love, affection, and care. Right there, Miss Chrissy done Trump mama. Because he's already gone into 2 sentences over Miss Chrissy, who's supposed to be one of his grandmothers. Okay? She sparked my interest in economics and politics simply by observing and listening to her in her daily routine. She owned and operated the popular dry goods store on the busy main street leading away from the famous market in the center of Brownstown. You see how detailed he's going into here? Every day after school, I would go to her shop to wait for the drive home to Orange Hill. So he lived in Orange Hill. So I have to find out about that. Like, this is a clip by clip thing to really dig up the truth here. So we need to know all about Orange Hill here. Orange Hill, after she closed the shop, it was here that she was in her groove while engaged in the lively and sometimes intense conversation with all who came into the shop about the issues of the day. So this is where the gossip went down. This is where they sat and they talked politics, what happened to in the day, what happened in the what's going on the island, what's happening with this and so on. This is where the news and the gossip took place at Miss Chrissy's popular shop, right? It is Miss Chrissy at this point we're talking about, right? Yep, Miss Chrissy. Now, business was front and center for her. All this information on her, right? Business was front and center for her. A profession and a family tradition that she embodied and carried with purpose, commitment, pride, and dignity, next to her devotion to the church that, as she often said, her ancestors built. Okay, so her ancestors, Miss Chrissy's ancestors, built the church. So we're gonna assume it's the same church that he got his Catholic lessons in, right? Again, if the family built the church, if her ancestors built this church, there is definitely records of who these people are, right? There would definitely have to be records of who these people are. Okay, where are we? Okay. She never paid much attention to the business of the farm at Orange Hill. Her sons took care of that side of the family business. So her sons. So his uncles. No, not his uncles. Couldn't be his uncles. Her sons. What would that make them to him? His great uncles? I don't know. Cousins? I don't know. This is her grandmother, her sons, nephews? No, not nephews. I don't know. I don't know who what they would consider kinfolk. We'll just go with that. Her sons took care of the side of that family. Her constant focus was on issues that affected her business of buying and selling imported dry goods as well as the cost of living. Issues that required understanding and keeping up with the news. Okay. A task which she pursued with gusto. Okay, she was very political. She was in the know. She was also fully in charge of domestic affairs in our home. Okay. She was in charge of domestic affairs in our home. So, where's mama? Cuz mama would be in in your home, but grandma was in charge of domestic affairs. So where's mama, right? Where's mama? Okay, of course, had raised 8 children of her own at an early age. So she had 8 children of her own at an early age. Okay. Did we have a couple of twins involved, Did we have a couple of quadruplets, a couple of triplets? Cuz she had 8 babies. All right. There was a daily diet of politics as well. She was a great admirer of Busta, Sir William Alexander Bustamante, then chief minister in the colonial government and leader of Jamaican Labour Party JLP. She claimed with conviction and pride to be a Labourite, I guess, as member of the JLP were called. And for the interesting reason that, as she argued, labor is the heart of everything in life. Little did I know then what I learned later in studying economics that my grandmother was exposing her independently discovered versions of labor theory of value. Okay. This guy is an economist. So how is it that Kamala Harris don't know economics? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay, where are we? Okay. Her philanthrop work, her philanthrop side shone through every Easter and Christmas when she had my sister Enid and me package bun and cheese, a favorite Jamaican Easter fare. So there's a sister. This would be Kamala Harris's auntie, right? Do we have pictures of Kamala Harris's auntie? Right? This would be her auntie. And other goodies in the boxes that we carried and delivered to families living in the area of our home. Again, he lives with her, and so where is his mother and his father? I know right here he's explaining who she is, but still, it kind of makes you wonder. Um, his mother should be implemented in this somehow, but she's not. She died in 1951 at the age of 70. So we probably could track down a birth certificate for Miss Cheryl, and death certificate for Miss Cheryl, right? Or pictures of Miss Cheryl. This was his grandmother. Her departure left me, then only 14, with a deep sense of sadness and loss. So he was 14 in 1951. So he was born, right? He was born in 1938, 39. Okay. Miss Iris. So now we've moved on to the second grandmother. This Miss Iris, we know for sure, is a white woman. Miss Iris, mother of 8, also. Interesting. They just drop it like it's 8s. Miss Iris, mother of 8 children too, was the sweetest and gentlest person one could meet. But underneath it was a tough farming woman who ran the Crane farm at Touch Walk near Enanon Town, jointly owned with her husband, Mr. Christie. So this would be his grandfather, right? Why not say with my grandfather, Mr. Christie, or my granddad, Mr. Christie? I'm just saying again, trying to incorporate other people into this thing, as in the kinship, right? The familyness. And it's not coming across in this read. She was always ready to go to church on Sunday to preach and teach about revelations. She saw approaching the world at that time, during and after World War II, in accord with the Bible. Okay. I spent summers with her, roaming around the Crane field, fascinated by the mechanical operation of crane juicing by the old method, a wooden pole extended out from grinding machine and tied to a mule walking around and around to grind the crane. And eager to drink a cup of juice caught directly from the flowing into the vat to be boiled and crystallized as raw sugar. No Coke or Pepsi could beat the taste of the fresh crane juice. You see what I mean, friends? How he goes into detail here in reference to this making of the sugar, of the juice, but all he had about his mother was not even a sentence, like a couple of words. This is where it gets tricky, and I'm just like, he has all this creative writing in this point, but when it comes to your mother, he's got nothing, right? So this again is suspect. Now, where are we? It was a joy learning experience for me to hang out with the workers on the Crane farm, see them weed and cutlass the machete with such flourish and fineness, listening to their stories of exploits, some too X-rated for me to repeat, and sit with them as they prepared their meal by putting everything in one big ditch pot, cooking it over an open fire in the field and serving it out on a big banana leaf for all of us to eat sitting there. What I'm picking up here, what's coming through my mind here, is I'm picturing him, this little mixed boy, right, in the field. Now, these people were slave owners, right? They were owners, Irish white people. They owned these farms. And here he is hanging out with the workers, sitting around chilling with the workers, having food on banana peels. Something ain't meshing. Something ain't meshing. Okay, looking back now, I can say with certainty and all due credit to Miss Iris that it was this early intimate exposure to operation of the sugar industry at the local level of small scale production with family labor and free wage labor, compiled with my growing curiosity about how these things came to be, that led me once I started reading about the history of Jamaica to a closer study of the sugar industry. Again, Miss Iris and his father and his grandfather working the Irish sugar canes. Yeah. I came then to understand its origin as a system of global production and commerce based on slave labor, with Jamaica as a key component of that system from its very start. Miss Iris died in 1981 at the grand old age of 93, and I grieved over the loss of someone so dear and close to me. Again, this is his grandmother, right? She is known here in a photo taken by me in 1966, just back from church, proudly holding in her lap little Kamala and confident in her firm prediction, even then, of the future achievements of her great granddaughter, after giving her blessings by making a cross with her finger on the child's forehead. So he did crosses and the Indians put in red dots. Okay. So what do we have here? Miss Iris died in 1981. This could be easily found, and Candace Owens found that, except Miss Iris didn't die in 1981. She died in 2019. So again, things is just not adding up. It's just not adding up. Okay, from the start, I strive to retrace for my children the path on which I had traveled. From Miss Judah's primary school at Top Road in Brownstown to Park School Elementary just around the corner to Titchfield High in Port Antonio to the University College of the West Indies, UCWI, then to Berkeley, where Kamala was born, to Illinois, where Maya was born, and subsequently to Cambridge University, Wisconsin, Yale, and Stanford. Throughout this retracting, my message to them, from the lessons I had learned along the way, was that the sky is the limit on what one can achieve with effort and determination, and that in the process, it is important not to lose sight of those who get left behind by social neglect or abuse and lack of access to resources or privileges. Also, not to get swell-headed, a favorite expression command of Miss Chrissy, and that it is important to give back with service to some greater cause than yourself. So I find this part here interesting, that he is saying, here he is, right? This is supposed to be a black man from another country, Jamaica. And he ends up in America, and he's given opportunity to become an economist. He's given opportunity to grab the dreams from the sky. And he understands that hard work is how you get there. And he understands that you must give back. But for some reason, I feel, even with all of your accomplishment, a black man from another country, but yet America is still a racist country. Make it make sense for me. All right, man, I wonder how long we've been going. We're going to get through this whole thing. We don't have that much more to go. All right. Friend, are you stressed out about the possibility that camouflage Kamala Harris could possibly become president? Friend, we're all worried about the same thing. And what helps me cope with these kinds of realities is my patriotic candles. I burn them for relief and stress because the possibility of Kamala Harris really frightens me. So, if you're like me, then candles will help you too. Pick them up at theorlandopatriot.com and get yourself 30% off. Friend, are you stressed out? Donald Harris experiencing their Jamaican heritage. In their early years, I tried to convey this message in very concrete terms through frequent visits to Jamaica and engaging life there in all its richness and complexity. In Brownstown, we walked the streets during market day, chatted up the higglers in the market, and were rewarded with plenty of boata. Is that water? Boata. I don't know. Jamaican word for bonus offering in nestberries, mangoes, and guinep. Oh, guinep. Okay, I know what guinep is. After each purchase, we checked out the location of the old park school, which had become transformed into Brownstown Comprehensive High School. We strolled into St. Mark's Church and the graveyard and traversed the road up the hill to Orange, where my uncle Newton had taken over the family property and started a limestone mining and brick producing operation, in addition to the cattle, grass, fruits, pimento farming of earlier times. Quickly, right here. We checked St. Mark's graveyard. That would be where his grandpapa is, the graveyard we talked about. The church that he went to, that he got his Catholic stuff in. This is the same graveyard that his grandpapa is buried in. And this is probably where the rest of the family is buried in. And I believe this place is still standing because I did pull a picture of it from Google. Okay, next. Imagine, okay, what is this? Images of Browntown, courtesy of Bruce T. Photography. We drove up to Tatch Walk and worked our way with lots of cuts and bruises through the same crane fields where Miss Iris had run a thriving business in the good old days of sugar, and a long time before had probably been part of a slave plantation. Probably, friend? Probably was a part of a slave plantation. It was. We played around on the lovely white sand of the beach at Dry Harbor and in the forceful but soothing waters of world famous Dunn's River Falls. Again, friends, this talks about his grandmother, but no more about his immediate, his mother, his father. He goes into all of these grave details, but nothing about these people. In Kingston, we visited the campus of the former UCWI, today the University of the West Indies, ranked in the top 5% of world universities, in my role then as a member of the faculty, to view its remarkable physical settings in the misty morning light. The buildings comfortably spread out over the vast lands of the Mona Commons and against the imposing backdrop of the Blue Mountains. In Port Antonio, we visited my high school, alma mater, at Titchfield, still sitting there. Okay, his high school is still there, as a powerful symbol of the privileged system of education that existed before the progressive reform of the Manley era. I wonder what that means. I wonder what that means. I think that needs to be looked at. I need to know what that means. At the end of the little peninsula overlooking the Navy Island and the historic setting of an ancient battery and cannon pointed out to sea to defend the harbor, we tracked over the ruins at Folly and to the Blue Hole and took a swim at the exquisite little beach tucked away in a little cove at Ferry Hill. Of course, in later years, when they were more mature to understand, I would also try to explain to them the contradictions of economic and social life in a poor country, like the striking juxtaposition of extreme poverty and extreme wealth, while working hard myself with the government of Jamaica to design a plan and appropriate policies to do something about those conditions. The national industry policy promulgated by government of Jamaica in 1996 and the growth inducement strategy of 2011 were the outcome of that continued effort. Now, far away in the diaspora, in 2018, one of the most vivid and fondest memories I have of that early period with my children is of the visit we made in 1970 to Orange Hill. 1970. Kamala would have been how old then? She was born in what? 1960, right? I think she was born in 1960. So 1970. So she would have been 10. All right. She would have been 10. Do they have pictures with him? And she would have been 10. So is there pictures from the 1970 visit? Because Miss Iris was still alive at that time, and I don't remember if Miss Chrissy would have still been alive at that time. So where are those pictures? Because this was a special trip. Let's tug on, friends. We tugged through the cow dung and rusted iron gates, uphill and downhill along narrow, unkept paths to the very end of the family property. So they must still own the property. They must still own their business. Yes, they still own their business. I believe they do, because the uncles took over. Anyway, all in my eagerness to show to the girls the terrain over which I had wandered daily for hours as a boy, with Miss Chrissy hollering in the distance, "You better come home now, boy, or else." Interesting how he can remember Miss Chrissy yelling these things. Upon reaching the top of a little hill that opened much of that terrain to our full view, Kamala, ever the adventurous and assertive one, suddenly broke away from the pack, leaving behind Maya, the more cautious one, and took off like a gazelle in Serengeti, leaping over rocks, shrugs, and fallen branches in utter joy and unleashed curiosity to explore the same enticing terrain. I quickly followed her with my trusted Canon Super 8 movie camera, to record the moment. So you have video. And my usual role as cameraman for every occasion. So you should have a whole lot of camera roll, because you took so many trips back to Jamaica. You should have a whole lot of pictures with the family. There should be, it says it right here. He is the cameraman, constantly filming, constantly videoing. Where are these images? Where are these pictures? Okay? I couldn't help thinking there and then, what a moment of exciting rediscovery, being handed over from one generation to another. This early phase of interaction with my children came to an abrupt halt in 1972, when, after a hard-fought custody battle in the family court of Oakland, California, the context of the relationship was placed within arbitrary limits imposed by a court-ordered divorce based on the false assumption of the state of California that fathers cannot handle parenting, especially in the case of this father, a Negro from the Yellens. What's that? A Negro from the islands. A Negro from the islands was a Yankee stereotype who might just end up eating his children for breakfast. Nevertheless, I persisted, never giving up on my love for my children or reneging on my responsibilities as a father. So I guess he paid some child support. But this right here interests me. How he lays this out, especially a father um of Negro heritage, right? That they didn't give him custody because he was a Negro man who might eat his children for breakfast. So I get the sense of humor here, but I have to say that it's not just you, Negro man. They normally give custody to the mother, right? Because they believe that the children should be with the mother. It's not because you was a Negro man or because you was from the islands. What did he call it? A Negro from the island. Wow. So here we are, all grown up. Kamala is carving a way for herself in America, and Mina is doing the same by her own route, as is her mother, Maya. Okay, Mina and Maya. Okay, that's Maya's daughter, and Kamala has no children. Not to be ignored is little Amara, the first of my two great granddaughters. So, Maya has two girls, Amara and Mina, right? My two great granddaughters. Why are they great granddaughters? Why are they just his granddaughters? Why are they his great granddaughters? Maya is his daughter. Not to mention, ignored is little Maya, the first of my two great granddaughters. Oh, maybe they're great, as in they're great. Okay. All right. You know, like they say great uncle or my great. So, okay. All right. So, fine. The great threw me off. In this photo, I am holding her lovingly and joyfully in my lap and having there perhaps the same thoughts and expectations about her as Miss Iris might have had about little Kamala on that day half a century ago, when she held in her lap. Thus, the cycle continues. The cycle of history repeats itself in remarkable ways, small and large, across generations of us Jamaicans. Though we may be scattered around the diaspora and far away from home where it all started, it is up to each generation to play its part, using well the legacy it inherits from previous generations, so as to leave behind something of value for those who follow. Notes, correction. Miss Chrissy died at the age of 70, not 62, as previously reported. Donald J. Harris, professor of economics, emeritus, Sanford University, Sanford, California, September 26, 2018. At Donald Harris. All rights reserved by the author. It's got a couple. Yeah, I told y'all I got this from Facebook. There's a couple of comments here. I'll read this one. Interesting, says Rod Kaufman. My roots go back within my lifetime to my paternal grandmother, Miss Chrissy, nee Christina Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, who is on record as plantation and slave owner and founder of Brownstown. Her family owned slaves. I knew it, and it's been said. However, people just don't know or believe it. However, it is true. Tony Parker, surprisingly, she appears to be more Irish than black as well. Tony Parker. Hamilton Brown was a very large slave owner as well, with 1,120 slaves. There's a Wikipedia here, but we're not going to pick up that rabbit hole right now. We're going to end this because my jaw hurts from all this reading. So, wow, 51 minutes of reading. Man. Kamala Harris's dad and his writings about the family and the family history. I got more questions now than ever. I've got more questions now than ever about Kamala Harris and her family tree. Because this man did not speak at all about his mother, Kamala's immediate grandmother, Kamala's grandfather. He focused on Miss Iris and Miss Chrissy, who he refers to as that, not even his grandmother and not even his grandmothers. I find it very, very interesting. I got more questions. I got questions. Seen that, heard that, good. There are so many things in that letter that I would like to go digging to find. Like Candace Owens, I am also a curious person who likes to learn about things. And being in the housing business, I did this for a living, digging up people's stuff, because when I had to go and rent to somebody, I had to go and find your eviction records. I had to go, I mean, I would go digging. Okay, so this is not something new that I enjoyed this myself. But for this kind of project, it takes resources to really find these things, because I would probably have to pay different sites to be able to get access to these like records and things like that. So it may not be a project that I want to take on, but where I'm able to do a little looking see, I will do that. I will leave it to Candace Owens and her team to do this hard work, because I'm telling you, it's a hard work to dig up stuff, especially where you're dealing with another country. So yeah, I'm gonna just let this be for her. But because I was able to find this letter, I wanted to really address it properly, because Candace didn't do that. And I wanted to take the time to go through it line by line, and I found some things in there that I really have questions about, because the family business is there. We should be able to find additional pictures of all of the family members. This woman, both the grandmothers, Iris and Chrissy, they both had 8 children. So we know that there's a huge family, right? There's a huge mega family. Why are we not seeing pictures from all of these people? So that's one question. And him saying, Donald saying he's the cameraman, so there should be multiple footages, videos of the family, right? I'm sure everybody was interactive until Kamala became, mainstream in the political space. So before they tried to blackwash everything to get rid of the white people in the family, like, these people exist, like, it's out there, you know I don't have the resources to dig for it, but man, this would be a great dig for me, because I enjoy, you just check every box. Just keep going. Just check this. The Orange Hill, is that what it was called? Orange Hill, where he grew up, and then where he went to high school. Like all of this, the cemetery where his grandfather was buried, maybe all the rest of the family members are there, the family land, like there's so much. I really wish I could get it in, but I'm going to let Candace Owens handle it. So I'll just be responding, reacting to what she finds. So, friends, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for taking the time and going through this with me. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about this letter? Do you have questions? Did you pick up on things that I didn't pick up on? Please, let's chat about it in the comments, because this has now become a project for all of us, right? Because Kamala Harris is trying to become the president of these United States of America. It's all hands on deck to figure out who the hell this person is. It's all hands on deck. So let's get it in. We can't let Candace Owens have all the fun, right? We got to get in there too. If I can figure out some things, I'm going to do it too. But this was part of my fun. So it was great to do this, and I'm really glad I did. So, any event, God bless you and keep you. And friends, let us keep Candace in our prayers, because what she's discovering, these people went through great lengths to try to cover this up. So what she's discovering, they don't like. And you know, when the Democrats don't like something, they do bad things to people. We're just saying. So we're saying, God in heaven, bless Candace Owens, cover her and her family in this time of investigation as she goes through these things to bring we the people the news, what these news media should be doing. So God, I say, cover her in the blood of Jesus. In Jesus' name, I pray right now for Candace, her family, her children, her staff, everyone, God. Cover them in the name of Jesus. We're going to let it go there. Thank you, guys. God bless you and keep you. I will see you in another video.